Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys, brought to you by the National Hockey Now Network. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers, Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by National Hockey Now. Friday, February 17th, Ian Cameron will have Alex B. Smith joining us in just a few moments. And Jimmy Murphy, our Friday guest, will be joining us as well later in the show as we get ready for this Friday NHL slate. 5 games on tap tonight in the NHL, and we will obviously preview all of those. We do want to mention a couple things before we get into today's show. The Q&A video that Alex and I recorded exclusively for Ice Guys Patreon members and subscribers is now available. It's now up on the Patreon page. So if you haven't checked that out yet, please do. You'll enjoy it. So that's on the page. And again, patreon.com/iceguys, just $10 a month for that. You can find that on the page as well, and plenty more bonus content on the way as far as that is concerned. So again, make sure you check that out, patreon.com/iceguys. And I do also want to make it official right now. I think I announced or said already that when the next betcast would be, but I just want to make it official right now. It will be next Tuesday, February the 21st, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. And this will be the beginning of our weekly betcasts. Now, what we plan on doing with the betcasts moving forward starting next Tuesday is most of them will be on Tuesday. But every week, there might be the odd week where instead of doing a Tuesday betcast, we do a Saturday betcast because the response was so good from the super betcast that we did last Saturday. Now, the Saturday betcast moving forward, they're not going to be all day, all night like they were last weekend. That was special. It was Super Bowl weekend. It was the first ever Saturday betcast we've done. But we're definitely going to be having a few, at least, Saturday betcasts moving forward. So weekly betcasts will begin next Tuesday, February 21st, 7 p.m. Eastern. As always, make sure you DM me, Alex, or email me, bobano350@gmail.com if you want to join us on the betcast on Tuesday night. And definitely looking forward to it. All right, let's look back on last night in the NHL. Of course, it was a busy Thursday in the National Hockey League. Florida Panthers get a win over the Washington Capitals. Last night was not a great night for me. That's the way it goes when you're a high volume NHL bettor. Welcome to the world, and welcome to the harsh realities that you can go 9-1 on Wednesday night like I did, and you can have a losing night like last night, like I did. So that's what happens sometimes. But one of the winners was Florida. They got the job done. 6 just really having a tough time now. A couple of games without Alex Ovechkin. They've had their share of issues. There's no question about that. And definitely Florida has just not looked right. They just haven't looked great without their captain, without their leader, Alex Ovechkin being on the ice. And we saw that again last night in the 6-3 loss to the Florida Panthers. Montreal hung around for 2 periods. They scored the first goal of the game. They hung around for 2 periods, but it got away from them in the 3rd period. So best laid plans do not work out well for yours truly there, who took a shot with the Canadians last night, potential flats. Yeah, but the Hurricanes roared with a strong 3rd period. Shout out to Seth Jarvis, hat-trick last night for the Carolina Hurricanes, 6-2. I'll tell you what, the shots on goal props treated me well, though, in that game, definitely. And shots on goal props have been really strong the last week. A bunch of them cashed last night. Dougie Hamilton went over his shots on goal prop. Aaron Ekblad in the Florida game went over his shots on goal prop again. I mean, we're really starting to I did better with props last night. I did better with shots on goal than I did with sides and totals. So we're going to have a few more for you on the Friday card as well in terms of props. And that has definitely become a bigger part of my NHL betting portfolio here late in the season. So nice win there for Carolina. Columbus, 3-1 over Winnipeg. It's got to be one of the better games I've seen Jonas Korpisalo play. Excellent goaltending from the Jackets netminder last night. And he's actually had a really nice month or so. Even in some of these losses, he stood on his head. He's definitely, played really strong for Columbus, for a team that doesn't play very good defense in front of their goaltender a lot. And again, it was a great performance as he beats leads the Jackets to a 3-1 win over the Winnipeg Jets last night. It was such a sin on my part, such an omission on my part not to bet Lion A over shots and Lion A to score a goal against Winnipeg. But what kept me against his former team, but what kept me off that was his struggles lately, obviously. But he got the job done. I guess if there's one team he's going to wake up against, it was the Winnipeg Jets. Morrissey shots on goal. There's another one, Rich H. Yep, over the shots on goal prop cash there with Josh Morrissey. And it cashed in the first period. I mean, 3 shots on goal, bang, just like that. So good to cash that one for sure. But unfortunately, we were on the over in that game, and it fell short with the 3-1 loss for Winnipeg to Columbus. Bruins 5-0 shutout over Nashville. I was on that. I think Alex, even though he wasn't on the show last night, that was his best bet, which I posted on Patreon. That was his best bet, was Bruins in regulation. And look, Nashville's just wretched right now. They're playing horrible hockey. They're barely generating any offense. They're getting outshot, outchanced in every game, outplayed, losing puck battles all over the ice. No offense to speak of. And like I said, when UC Saros looks human, and UC Saros hasn't played as well the last week or so, they're not winning. And we saw that again last night. Great road game from the Boston Bruins. A Nashville team, the more I look at them, the more they're not making the playoffs, as far as I'm concerned, in the Western Conference. Nashville's just not playing well. And a lot of their wins were fool's gold wins, where they were getting outshot, outchanced, and UC Saros was saving their fucking bacon. And that's why they were winning those games. And now all of a sudden that's not happening. St. Louis, I mean, the Blues all of a sudden resurgent. 4-2, another victory for them over the New Jersey Devils last night. Devils thought they might get Jack Hughes back, didn't happen. Dougie Hamilton, another night, over shots on goal, cashes with him. It's just automatic at this point. And 4-2 for St. Louis. Give them credit. A push for me with the total in that game. Seattle. Look, I'm not going to have a worse result. Now, I had a good comment on Twitter from someone saying, hey, you should gauge your best bets on it being a bad bet based on, do you get the best of the number? Do you get the best price? Do you get closing line value? Yeah, I get that. I get that sentiment. I get that thought process. But to me, the worst bet you'll make and is going to be, how bad does it lose? And for me, with the Philadelphia Flyers last night, I mean, it was just a horrible call. I mean, as far as I thought they'd bring a lot more than that. Rested. They hadn't played since Sunday. Revenge spot. Seattle played an extra game in between against Winnipeg, coming home off a long road trip. And it was the Philadelphia Flyers that were listless, not the Seattle Kraken last night. Just a brutal game. One of the worst games of the year. I said, isn't it funny going into last night? I said, the Flyers have been in every game. They haven't had a game where they've really been whipped. Well, sure enough, it happened last night against the Seattle Kraken, 6-2 for Seattle. Give them credit. Tough spot, and they still rolled to victory against the Philadelphia Flyers. And I think it's safe to say Philip Grubauer has his number one job back in between the pipes for the Kraken. He's starting to play better again. Seattle with a nice win. Vegas, it was not easy. San Jose, a feisty team and a tough out these days, you know, with Meyer and Carlson, among others, being showcased for the trade deadline. How about Barabanov? I've talked about him repeatedly on this show. He scores the only goal for San Jose at a nice price, plus 450. I cashed with his goal prop last night, but Vegas overcomes it, and they get the late goal to win it. Will Carrier with just 17 seconds left to get the 2-1 win over San Jose. Another nice start by Aiden Hill, who's become friend of the Ice Guys show because through Alex with his little conversation with Aiden's dad. But it's nice to see Aiden Hill do well now, I'm sure, after he talked with his pops last week when they were in Mini.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting because a lot of the players, obviously we talked about Jack Eichel, but a lot of the players' dads that I encountered, you know, have been kind of doing stuff. Phil Kessel, maybe the omission out of that. He's been kind of quiet since they were here in St. Paul. But other than that, yeah, that's the Vegas team that has played well, and I wish they had been able to score more offense last night, obviously having that team total over 3.5. But, you know, that's a gritty win, and you know, you're going to need those sometimes, especially in these dog days. We're talking about how all these dogs are popping up and beating favorites. You know, we saw it last night again with Detroit. You know, so these teams have to be on alert. You know, they're going to lay those eggs every now and then. Obviously, every team's going to have a bad night and a bad game here or there. But that's a gritty win for a Vegas team that's really trying to battle through injuries. Like I said, obviously with Hill now being thrust into the starter role, and you wonder, he's already been playing well. He's got good numbers, but you know, as the minutes increase and as the pressure increases, the guy who hasn't really had to play starter in big role games, you know, so that's what we have to kind of see moving forward with Vegas, with Aiden Hill taking the reins in that.
Exactly. Can he keep this up? You're right. Long term, that ends up being the story. And I saved the best for last. because things are starting to become real worrisome in the Canadian Cowtown with the Calgary Flames right now. That was Detroit on a back-to-back. No, Detroit's playing well. Let's give the Red Wings some credit. This has been a nice run they put together. They've swept Western Canada. That's not easy to do. Not many teams have done that. I remember Buffalo did it early in the season, but Detroit, another team to have swept Western Canada, beating all three teams, Vancouver, Edmonton, and then Calgary on that road trip. And the Red Wings are playing good hockey. Dylan Larkin's been a man possessed. Pius Suter's heating up. He's someone to keep an eye on moving forward. Robbie Fabry is heating up right now for the Detroit Red Wings. You're right. They look enticing. I know I lost my keister with Seattle going against Seattle last night, Nick Earl, but looking ahead to tomorrow, that is a tantalizing price on Detroit tomorrow against Seattle, the way they're playing right now, no doubt. They're playing great hockey. They're getting saves. Hellberg last night was solid. Husso is in great form right now for the Red Wings. Definitely they're playing great. They're getting contributions. Kubalik comes to life, taking the spot of Lucas Raymond on the top line for Detroit last night. Absolutely outstanding game from him. And Calgary, it's just more issues with the key defensive breakdowns at bad times, giving up goals at bad times of the game, not getting enough offense, not getting enough timely goal scoring themselves. I mean, it's been a combination of everything right now here with this Calgary Flames team. It's definitely been a concern with what we have seen from them during this time. And it's amazing that this team has outchanced their opponent as much as they have this season. And here they are languishing, holding on for dear life to a playoff spot right now, a wild card spot in the Western Conference. It's just they have not been able to put it all together. They have not had games where their offense has been clicking. They've shut things down totally, and the goaltending's been on point. And to me, that was a crippling, critical missed opportunity for Dan Vladar, who has had a great run in net for the Flames. He's been the better goalie the last month and a half or so, but it was not one of his better nights last night. Not at all. There was at least one goal early in the game he should have stopped, and the fifth goal was a horrendous goal to give up. Horrendous. That was the game. That was the goal that put it to bed in favor of Detroit. That was the game that said it's over when they made it 5-2. And, Vladar's got to have that save as far as I'm concerned. But it's not his fault. It's not all his fault. There's other issues with this Calgary team. They're just not playing well right now. And as always, I was very interested after that game. The vultures are circling. You're Eric Francis of the world and all these fucks that cover the team on a daily basis. Just vultures. When things are going wrong, they can't wait to criticize and can't wait to ask the tough, harsh questions in the press conferences in terms of Daryl Sutter in particular. So we figured let's find some Daryl Sutter sound and let's play it here on the show from last night after the game.
Shorthanded goal would carry us a little bit. And it's 1-1 going in the second and take a bad penalty right away. They score early in the power play in the second, I think, and then late in the second, the power play difference in the game. Same as in Detroit, too.
Why do you think the emotion was lacking?
I think a concern of mine is after long trips, seeing it this year, first game back, a lot. Great goaltending, get through it, or power play, or big penalty kill, something big to happen. Didn't get that.
Fans in the stands certainly weren't happy with the penalties, the penalty calls where you thought they were good.
Well, we talked about it before the game. Then in Detroit, we took 4 in the second period in Detroit, and they scored.
I always find it funny, Alex, that we get Sutter with that shit-eating grin sometimes, even after a bad loss. He does that in his press.
Yeah, he does.
It's like,
his
what's so
natural.
funny, man?
For the game,
It's like a
Team
nervous
had a
tick.
terrible loss. Yeah.
ratio in penalties, right? So at one point it was 3-0 in penalties, which is.
So we're going to get to the point at the end of this where I love Daryl's press conferences, deadpan delivery, funny sometimes. I get all that. But I had a problem with what he said at the end.
Pardon?
How did it grass tonight?
I thought he was very sluggish. He got better as the game went on, but I think the first period he was off.
Talk about that lack of emotion in the first game back after a road trip. I mean, that's got to be on the players, I assume, to get themselves up for it, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit of the leadership of the group.
See, he looks like he's smiling when he's saying.
Going into this game about goaltending, I'm assuming you didn't see goaltending as the main reason you lost tonight.
Well, it certainly didn't give us an opportunity to win, did it?
Now that comment right at the end about Dan Vladar is what bothered me. Okay. Yeah. He said, well, it certainly didn't. You don't think goaltending was the reason you lost tonight? Well, it certainly didn't give us a chance to win now, did it? I didn't like that. Okay. I didn't like him saying that. You've had millions of opportunities to throw Markstrom under the bus for a shit performance, one after another that he's had this year. And he never said a thing, not a peep about Markstrom. He would always actually try to defend him and say, you know what? There's other things going on with the team, and he's just battling through some stuff. And when Markstrom's been utter horseshit in so many games this year and given up just that back-breaking goal when you can't afford it, and Daryl Sutter would say not a thing about Jacob Markstrom's struggles, not a thing. And the first moment Dan Vladar has a bad game, probably his first bad game in 2 months, was last night against Detroit. His first bad game in 2 months. Daryl Sutter can't wait to get out there and say, well, he certainly, didn't give us a chance to win tonight, this guy. And yet he's had so many opportunities to say something critical about Jacob Markstrom, and he never has this season. To me, that's playing favorites. To me, that's not fair to do that to Dan Vladar when he's the reason you've gotten most of your wins that you have received, the last month or so. Didn't like that comment. Did not sit well with me. For as much as I love Daryl and he's funny, and the press conferences and the deadpan delivery and the crazy million facial expressions and the Popeye look, as I like to call it, because he looks like Popeye and all this shit, that did not sit well with me. Him pointing the finger directly at Dan Vladar, considering what Dan Vladar's done for this hockey team for a month and more than that.
I totally agree with you, but I'm going to slightly play the devil's advocate. And what this makes me believe is that there's a reason he hasn't thrown Jacob Markstrom under the bus throughout his struggles. And that means that if he were to do that, it would only make things worse. That's me playing the devil's advocate in that situation. And
he thinks Dan Vladar can handle it. Young kid.
Right. I'm trusting. Yeah, I'm trusting that Sutter, being a veteran coach, is dialed in enough to his two goalies to know that he can say one thing about one and say something else about the other, and they'll respond to it the way he hopes for them to respond to it. And that may be the reason why he's kind of backed off a little bit on Markstrom when he should have been a little harsher. And maybe that's the reason why he's kind of keeping the pressure on Vladar, I guess. I wouldn't even say that keeping the pressure on it. Like I said, it's just kind of a frustrated in the moment comment, because there's no way you can blame Dan Vladar for anything. Like I said, he's the reason this team's in 5th place and crawling for a wild card spot, and not in 7th or 8th, talking about, selling off pieces and tanking. The run that he was on was 14 starts where he went, third with a 10-0-3. Now he has back-to-back bad games. You can't blame him for that, especially when he's a guy that, was supposed to be your firm number 2 at the beginning of the year. Markstrom was supposed to round back in the form, give you 55 starts. That's probably not going to be the case here. You're probably going to be, obviously injuries aside, more of a true split of a 1A, 1B system. And if Calgary does find themselves in the playoffs, they're going to have to ask themselves the question of who's going to start in net. Is it going to be Vladar moving forward? He's been the one to carry them when they needed it the most, or can Markstrom round in the form and get hot going into the postseason? So there's a lot of things that Sutter's playing chess here. And like I said, I think I kind of do agree with the comment in the chat about, maybe his voice is getting lost in the locker room. That's the reason why I didn't think he should have had a multi-year extension after he was brought into Calgary. But they made that choice. Now they got to roll with it. And I think, Sutter's kind of being a little more cautious about not throwing Markstrom on the bus, because he knows that he does have that potential to turn things around. And also you can't afford to bury him. And then now you're in the race, and now you have to run Vladar into the ground and give him big minutes. So I think he's trying to play it a little safe, in the reason why he hasn't said the same things about Markstrom the way he said about Vladar last night.
Yeah, feeling the veteran guy can handle it. Although now we'll see what. And look, Daryl Sutter's coaching style, it's going to test you as a player to be mentally tough.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. If you're mentally fragile, you're not going to survive under Daryl Sutter.
Yep.
As simple as that. He is tough as fuck. He's a prickly fuck. We know that, especially in the dressing room. And look, he's going to test your mental resilience, and he's going to test your mental strength and your fortitude. He's going to crack the whip. And those things we see in the dressing room, crack the whip, say something, in terms of, putting you down the lineup. He'll do that often with guys that are struggling. And so Jonathan Huberdeau is one of the guys that has clearly had trouble adjusting to Daryl Sutter and adjusting to this team. And we know who his agent is. And you see it on the screen on this tweet here from Alan Walsh, who represents many players in the National Hockey League and often will come to their defense. We know what he did with Marc-Andre Fleury. He represents Marc-Andre Fleury. And it's getting bad with a team right now and the way things are going when the agent is piping up on Twitter and putting out a tweet like this after last night's loss to Detroit. The definition of his insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Also, negativity sucks the joy right out of players. Pass that along to the Calgary Flames. So, and that tells you that the agent now, and the agent's talking to the player routinely. That's the guy that represents them. So I'm sure he's hearing things from players, from his own players that he represents as an agent, Alan Walsh, that says, you know what, this is not a good situation right now with the Calgary Flames. When he's coming out on Twitter saying that, it really makes this situation, it makes you feel this situation is getting worse, not better. What's going on with this Flames team right now, Alex?
Yeah, absolutely. And, I appreciate when Alan Walsh gets on Twitter and fires away, because this is the kind of information stuff that we
people
we
say,
desire,
be quiet. Don't post this shit on Twitter. Represent the players. Do your job. Stop sounding off and going on Twitter with the sounding board. I say, you know what? I like his honesty. I appreciate that he puts his opinion out there publicly. He says what's on his mind. He cares about the best, for his players that he represents. And more than anything, you just said it, Alex, from a betting standpoint, as bettors and handicappers, it's information that helps us.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, for us, I love it. But if I'm a player and he's my agent, I kind of want him to be quiet. Like I would not want this kind of information being out, because this now sends a signal to everyone that there's some kind of issue now in this Flames locker room. And this is a Flames locker room that has been kind of fragile for really the greater part of this last decade. The coaching changes that they made, we heard stories a few years ago about how guys were partying and breaking curfews and different things.
Bob Hartley, Glenn Gulletson, Bill Peters. Yeah. I mean, it's endless. Yeah,
right. And so there's always been some kind of issue with this group. And it's been more kind of off ice or things stemming from off ice leading onto the ice and disrupting this team. But like I said, I appreciate, we appreciate the information as bettors and handicappers and even as fans, a little bit of drama in the NHL, something you don't see too often, but at least on this kind of a surface level drama. And but if I'm a player and he's representing me, you were kind of spilling a little bit too much of the tea. And, now, we can kind of, stir up the pot, the talking heads, as you mentioned in Calgary, they're going to run with this like crazy and stir the pot even more. And, now it brings up questions naturally within us just now in seeing this and like what you just mentioned about, with Sutter, the kind of coach that he is, and talking about Mark.
That was directed at Sutter. It had to be.
Oh, for sure. Definitely. But it makes you think now, in going back to Sutter, has he lost the voice? Has his voice been lost in that locker room? If he's being so tough on guys like Jacob Markstrom and Huberdeau, okay, so now are you going to stick with your stars that you're paying a bunch of money and committed to? Or are you going to go with this veteran coach that you brought back in for the second term, who clearly seems to, not be truly fully adapting to what the modern NHL is looking like? Why would you make that choice and run with Sutter when you have talent? We're not talking about a team that we're trying to get talented, a talent boost out of. We're talking about a good group on paper, a really good group on paper, a potential championship team on paper. So, at some point it can't all be, well, the players aren't executing. At some point you have to start looking at the coaching. You have to start looking at the intangibles. And I think there's some issues now with the intangibles of this Flames team.
I find it a cop-out that now people are reversing course now on this Calgary team when they're struggling, saying this team was never good enough to be a Stanley Cup contender anyway. I call bullshit on that. So you're telling me adding Jonathan Huberdeau from the President's Trophy winning Florida Panthers and a 3-digit point season last year, 100-plus points, and getting Nazem Kadri, a winner, a flat-out winner, that guy as a player. I'd have him on my team in a heartbeat. And a Stanley Cup champion last year with the Colorado Avalanche doesn't make that team a whole lot better. I mean, my goodness. I mean, I think everybody now that they're struggling says, oh, I never thought they were going to be a cup contender when they lost Gaudreau and they lost Kachuk last year. I say BS on that. You're only saying that now because they're struggling. Where were you back in the summer when you were saying, hey, Calgary's built this shit right back up again to be right back in the hunt again last year? And now they're reversing course, all these people that say now that they never had a good enough roster to begin with. No. This is a roster that you look on this roster on paper, you can't tell me they can't be at least a playoff team and maybe make a deep run. They're not playing up to that level. That's the issue. The roster's good enough. They're not playing up to that level right now.
Yeah. And I think we're going to see a radical shift. It's funny. I was talking about this with somebody about maybe a month ago. We're due for a radical shift in the NHL and its style. We've seen the increase of offense the last few years. And what have we seen now this season? We've seen a lot more close defensive battles. We're seeing the defenses improve. We're seeing the goaltending as a whole get a little bit better and teams adjusting to these newer rules. And I think now at some point in the next couple of years, the defenses are going to continue to get better. You have to have offensive creativity. I'm not talking about offensive talent. There's a ton of offensive talent in the league. You just mentioned it. But you need offensive creativity. And these coaches that have never been creative offensively, the Sutters of the world, the Paul Maurices, for the most part, in the last decade, he's been more of a defensive-minded coach. Even look at Dave Haxtell and look at how Seattle, when, look at last night. When they're hot, they're hot. But when they're cold, they're cold. And when they're cold, it's mostly related to the fact that they aren't getting their offense rolling. These defensive-minded coaches either are going to have somebody on that bench that is more offensive-minded and more creative on the offensive end, or they're going to have to adapt themselves. And in the case of Sutter, he doesn't seem like a guy who's going to adapt or make many changes with his philosophies at this point because, at one point he can always say to all of us, "Fuck you guys, I have rings." And what I've done has worked, and the proof is in the pudding. But yes, we're talking about 15, 20, 25 years ago. We're not talking about here in the present and in the future. What you've done is great, but what you're doing and continue to do is not.
Yeah, he hasn't been great on the defensive end. I agree with what Perlo was saying in the chat. You're right, Huberdeau, and that's a problem with Sutter. If you're not going to be good away from the puck, he's got to work on that, or else.
But you also didn't bring in Jonathan Huberdeau to be a Selke Trophy winner. You brought the guy in to score goals. And
he's not doing that enough this year. No. He just isn't. The production is way down from where it was last year. There's no question about that. Anyway, we can go on about the Flames issues for days. They're a fascinating team because Nick Earl hits on a great point. Their advanced analytics are spectacular. They look like the advanced numbers and goals expected and for and against and high danger chances for and against, all that great shit. It's looking awesome for the Calgary Flames, and yet it's not matching their win-loss record right now, and that ends up being a shame. And something they're going to have to find a way to overcome. Jimmy, a great time to bring Jimmy Murphy in before we get to today's news. But, Jimmy, we're talking about this underachieving Calgary Flames group and another bad loss last night. And you look at the situation now, just things haven't clicked. They haven't gotten timely goal scoring, the defensive play, and the goaltending all at once. You got Alan Walsh piping up on Twitter now about the Calgary team and their struggles. I mean, things are getting worse, not better there right now.
Yeah, it's brutal now, and I don't blame Alan Walsh at all there. And look, he's made it clear that in the past he confronts his client first and gets their okay and says, "Look, I'm going to do this. If you don't want me to, then I won't." So clearly, he had Vladar's okay to do this, as he has with Fleury, and then going way back to Halak and the whole Halak price ordeal back in 2010.
Does he represent Vladar?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Maybe
that's what this was
picking up for Vladar, not Huberdeau.
Yeah. Oh no, wait, you know what? You're right. This was for Huberdeau, but he does represent Vladar as well.
Wow. So I'm sure he still wasn't happy hearing him say, "Well, he certainly didn't give us a chance to win." Now, did it?
And that gives him even more credence to tweet that out, though.
Yeah. So I think it was kind of just kind of a cluster bleep of all the negativity came together, and Walsh said, "Screw this." And I don't blame him. And I wish more people, look, I'm not on the ground in Calgary. I'm not going in that dressing room every day as a reporter like I am here in Boston. So, I'm not trying to insult the media there, but it's like, why? I said this, was it last week or the week before? Why does Daryl Sutter get this free pass? Enough already, man. He's the problem, not Huberdeau, not the players. He is the problem. And also I would put it on Trey Liverian as well. You put together a team that just does not fit Daryl Sutter. And Daryl Sutter doesn't fit today's NHL. That's just the way it is. He refuses to adapt. He's a dinosaur, and he needs to go.
There you go. Can't adapt. Coaching like it's the 80s and
basically
90s.
mirrored what I just said, Jimmy. Like 2 minutes ago, we're right in lockstep right there.
Yep.
And if you refuse to adapt, I mean, it's a totally different player you're coaching these days. You know, they just can't be ripped. They can't be tarred and feathered. They can't be just completely reamed out every time they make a little mistake. You've got to coach them, talk to them like an adult, say, hey, you did this wrong. We can't have that. But here, and here, here's what you got to do. Work on this and communicate with them. And I look, from what you see every day, it's funny to listen to, and it's deadpan delivery, and it's, start and stop, verbiage when he's talking to the media. But obviously that's not a guy that's adept for the best conversation and communication with his players, in my opinion.
No, I think you're exactly right. I mean, look, he made fun of a guy's NHL debut. I mean, he stole away what should have been a highlight of this guy's career and turned it into a negative because he thinks he's funny. Well, you know what? You're not funny anymore, man. You're about as funny as watching paint dry, and that's how fun watching your team is too. So it's just
that's for sure, especially when you have money on them.
It's just whatever. I think he's got to go, but from what I hear, he's very tight with ownership there. The media loves him. I don't see it happening, unfortunately, for the players there.
Yeah, and it's just crazy. I mean, like I said, in the fact that you've made this investment and made these moves with these players, and like I said, this is a championship, quality team on paper. But the fact that that management
pieces aren't fitting, and the style of the coach isn't fitting with them. Yep.
Right. And like I said, I right on this show when they made that move, I was one of the first people to say this makes no sense to me. Why would you go backward and get Sutter when you could progress and get somebody who's more in step and more in tune with today's
here's the
league?
thing. It was a great interim move, right, Alex?
Sure,
it was a good move at the time, but it wasn't the move to, okay, now this is how we're going forward, and this is where the organization is going right now. It's just not. And then you go out and you make the trade for Huberdeau, who's just not a Sutter type of player, just doesn't fit into that system. A lot of it doesn't make sense, man. And, it's tough because I have, I'm tight with Chris Snow. Obviously, you guys know about him and all he's gone through with the ALS. And it's tough for me to see, I think if Chris wasn't as sick, and I'm not saying this just because I'm his friend, I think if Chris wasn't going through what he's going through right now, he maybe could have gotten the ear of Tree Living and said, nah, man, I'm just letting you know, you make the final call, but I don't think this is the direction you want to go because Chris is more of the new wave, and that's why you bring in people. That's why you want different voices around there. I don't think there's enough different voices from the outside. This is how it looks, that are in that organization and are going to stand up. And it's almost, look, guys, Sutter's the old school and he's got this tough attitude. It's almost like they're afraid to stand up to him. You know what I mean? And it's just sooner or later, they got to pull the trigger on this because this is a shame. I mean, this is a wasted team.
Yeah.
And they got the red hot New York Rangers, albeit on a back-to-back because they play tonight in Edmonton, but they got the red hot New York Rangers coming in tomorrow night into Calgary. So it's not going to get any easier for the Flames. By the way, I want to mention, since you brought up Chris Snow, they're absolute warriors, those two, Chris and his wife, Kelsey, and everything they've gone through with that. They've been interviewed a couple of times, the two of them on Hockey Night in Canada. It's your heart goes out to them. It's just such a debilitating disease.
Yeah,
you got to go through to persevere through it. I can't imagine.
Yeah, his father, guys, was actually one of my mentors when I came up through the ranks, and he got me a job at NHL.com early on in my career, and he's just a wonderful man. And he died as well 4 years ago from ALS. And his brother, Chris's uncle, also died from ALS, and their grandfather. So clearly, unfortunately, it went right through the family. So four people have been hit with this in that family, and I've known about 10 people have gone. It's just, I don't wish that on my worst enemy, to be honest.
No, yeah, it's awful.
It's an awful disease. Awful disease. It took Boreas Salming away from us. I mean, it's just absolutely awful stuff. And we wish them well. We pray for them every day. Chris and Kelsey and Chris Snow. He keeps on going through, gets on through it. All right, we got the Friday card, Jimmy. We got 5 games. Let's get into it. We'll start with Chicago and Ottawa. We've got the Senators -280 home favorites, 6.5 the total in this game. Chicago, You tell me, Alex, that Chicago-Toronto game, 9 seconds in, they're down 1-0. It's like, that's going to be one of those nights. Did you know it right then and there?
Yeah, it was pretty much writing on the wall. Even when they came back and scored with like a minute and a half later, they came back to tie the game, which was kind of funny because I tweeted out, well, everybody's wondering, why is this rumored to be the largest favorite in NHL history? That has not been confirmed, by the way. Like FanDuel basically tweeted that out. It's like, well, FanDuel's only been, booking games for 3 years. So, but with that being said, we talked about it. Why you don't lay 6-10 is because Chicago actually came back and did pressure Toronto and kind of kept them on the heels in that first period. And that's why it's hard to trust the Leafs, but it's even harder to trust the Blackhawks. So they're a mess.
Yeah, no question. And you could tell right away it was going to be a rough night. It was a rough night for Chicago. It was a rough night for Peter Mrazek in net. One of many rough nights he's had this season in net. A 5-2 win for the Toronto Maple Leafs TNT on Wednesday night. Chicago looking to bounce back here against an Ottawa team that I'll give the Ottawa Senators a ton of credit for. That was a tough spot. They roared back to steal one against Calgary. And then on a back-to-back against the Islanders, and the Islanders are rested off losses, looking to bounce back. And the Ottawa Senators went in there and shocked the Islanders in a shootout, all thanks to the Italian Stallion in net in his NHL debut. Kevin Mandolese, he was absolutely outstanding. I mean, he was phenomenal. 40-plus saves, incredible performance. I thought for sure that the Ottawa Senators were going to roar right back with Mandolese tonight after that game with how good he played, winning his first ever NHL start. But surprisingly, Mads Søgaard is getting the start. And I don't want to make it sound like Mads Søgaard's not capable because they won against Calgary with him. But I thought because he was just so great against the Islanders, they would have given Kevin Mandolese the start once again. But not the case. Mads Søgaard will be in net. One thing I've noticed about Søgaard, big guy, really is, covers a lot of net, but he's very, very poor with his lateral movement, post to post. He's like a snail trying to get creased. So if I'm Chicago, I'm looking to move that puck quickly, side to side, get him moving a little bit in between the pipes, and maybe you open up some seams and you open up some open net to shoot at in this game tonight. I'd certainly look to do that if I'm Chicago, if I've just put my scouting report hat on when I look at that goalie. That's what I would look to be doing here in this game. I like over 6.5. I think it's going to be two teams going nowhere, going to be one of those sloppy up and down affairs. I think Ottawa will score on Mrazek and this, very weak Chicago defense. And Ottawa's scoring goals in bunches lately. If you actually look, they've started to put up some goals lately. I think Chicago, though, could do some damage because I'm not fully on board with Søgaard and fully trustworthy of Søgaard just yet. So this has the makings of like a 5-3, I think, Ottawa win, 4-3 Ottawa, 5-2, something like that. And I think it goes over the total in this one. So I like over 6.5 here with Chicago and Ottawa. Player props, we're going to, again, start mentioning some of these, especially the shots on goal variety, because they've been so good. I mean, if you're going to look at goal scorer props, Athanasiou for Chicago's had chances, and he's scored a little bit more lately. You could go in that direction for Chicago. Certainly, and a couple more too. Domi's been getting opportunities. Could look in that direction. On the Ottawa side, Stützle's on fire. Batherson's been incredible. Tkachuk is piling up points, so you could go in multiple directions there for sure in this game. But there are shots on goal props galore that I like tonight in this game. Thomas Chabot, he's gone over his shots on goal prop 8 of the last 10 games. I like that. Timmy Stützle, he's shooting the puck a lot. It's only minus 130 or so for his over 2.5 shots on goal. I like that a lot. And this might be the player prop of the night in the NHL. And I'm getting to it, Jarek. Hold on. I'm just setting the table. Alex DeBrincat, number 1 player prop on the whole night for me in this game. I'm sure he's not thrilled that Chicago just said, all right, this rebuild's going to continue without you. We thought maybe you'd be one of those young pieces we'd build around. And Alex has talked about that maybe Alex DeBrincat would have been kept in Chicago, build around him. That did not happen. He gets dealt to Ottawa. And this is now a chance to pay back his former team, and any player is up to play their former team. There is no question about that. This is actually a bigger bet for me in the player prop department than normal for me with DeBrincat. We like his over shots on goal. We got to pay a little juice, but I think it's juice worth laying in this prop here with his over shots on goal for DeBrincat, which is over 2.5 at around minus 150. minus 165 actually at DraftKings. It's gone up a bit, but it's juice worth laying. You could go 3.5 actually if you want, plus money, plus 110. I think he could get to 4 shots. He's shooting the puck tonight, period. I think against this Chicago team, he wants to prove a point. I think he wants to have a big night against them. So any shots on goal prop for DeBrincat. Over 2.5 minus 160 is what I bet. But if you want a little value, you could go over 3.5 plus 110. And I do think he'll get over that shots on goal prop as well. And I absolutely am going to bet him anytime goal scorer tonight in this game. And I'm going to do a rare Jimmy Murphy sprinkle on the hat trick for Alex DeBrincat tonight in this game as well. I think definitely he is a motivated son of a gun going into this matchup. He's plus 138, by the way, the best price out there on DeBrincat to score a goal tonight. And the hat trick price, obviously, like I said, I think this has a legit chance of happening because I think he's going to want to have one hell of a hockey game tonight for the Ottawa Senators playing his former team tonight. I'm just looking to see now the multi goal scores. Here we go. 22-1. 22-1 for Alex DeBrincat to get a hat trick tonight. Just a couple bucks, on that, but I'm going to take a shot with that as well. Alex, Chicago and Ottawa.
Yeah, I think the best thing to probably do would be maybe put, if you like DeBrincat to score tonight, which I do, and I actually got him at 2 goals or more plus 500. But I would say maybe take a unit and split it, go half unit anytime goal scorer, quarter unit for 2 goals, and quarter unit for a hat trick. That might be the best way to attack that. If you have a good feel about a player like that, I don't know, you can kind of maybe, piggyback to that if that's a good option to do if you like a guy to get multiple goals for a game. In certain instances, obviously you would just stack that every night. But would that be something you would recommend if it's someone you're circling highly on the evening to maybe take a unit and split it up amongst that from a goal scoring perspective?
Yeah, definitely. If you really think they're going to make a huge impact here, yeah. Like I said, this is one of those nights where I think he's shooting the puck a lot, hence why we like over 2.5, hence why I would not be scared to bet over 3.5 shots on goal with DeBrincat either. And I also think in this game tonight, he's going to be obviously have an opportunity to score a lot of goals. It's not a great Ottawa defensive team. We know Mads Søgaard is still a big question mark in net about his ability night to night. So I think he scores 1 goal for sure. And I think there's a very good chance he can get 2 or 3. So I think this is definitely a night to look 5-1, 2 goals or more, 22-1, like I said, on the hat trick for DeBrincat here. It's worth a sprinkle, in my opinion, in a game like this. Yep.
So I took a shot with DeBrincat. Like I said, 2 goals or more plus 500. I like the draw here plus 400 as well. I think this could be one of those up and down games, like you said. I mean, obviously, neither team really playing for much of anything. Ottawa may have more interest in this one, obviously, than Chicago. And like you mentioned about Søgaard, he's definitely not the goalie in waiting for the Sens. Like you said, he's a big body. He's been a project in waiting, but his lateral movement's not that good. We've seen him kind of, have some shaky numbers in the AHL. So this feels like it could be a bit of a track meet, and we know how Mrazek has looked. So, no reason to kind of harbor on that. This definitely is an over game for sure. Even at 6.5, you can still get plus prices up plus 104, plus 105. So I like the over. I like the draw. I like DeBrincat to get 2 goals or more than that.
There we go. Over, draw, DeBrincat 2+ goals for Alex, which is actually plus 610 at FanDuel and Bet365 are the 2 main books that I use for the multi-goal scorer props, the 2 goals or more or the 3 goals or more. I know you can find them at FanDuel. I know you can find them at Bet365. I think they're probably elsewhere too, but those are the main 2 books that I use for those. Jimmy, what do you think here? Chicago, Ottawa.
I'm with you guys. I see a lot of goals in this. I think tonight they're retiring Chris Neal's number as well. I think before the game,
right.
The place is going to be rocking. It's going to be a fun atmosphere. You're not going to get much value really on a Jimmy puck line here, but I'll take it anyways. I'm looking at minus 106 for the puck line on Ottawa, and then I'm going to take the first period over and the over total.
All right, there we go. First period over and the full game over for Jimmy as well in this game tonight. Yep.
I was going to say, we all feel it's going to be a high score, but I do think this might be a game where you could probably wait on that first period over. I'm seeing 150s, 155s. You could probably wait and grab that in game. They usually don't score too early, even Ottawa in the first. So you might be able to wait. And I wouldn't take a risk and wait for the full game over. I would grab that. But first period over, I'd say maybe wait a little bit and wait for that drop of about maybe 15, 20 cents.
Yeah, which is always definitely something you can consider with the getting a better line and price with the live overs. All right, Pittsburgh Penguins, New York Islanders. We've got the Islanders slight home favorites. Actually, I should change that. That should be minus 115 on the Islanders. The total 5.5, 6, depending on where you look here in this game. I think it's a great situational bet on the Islanders because they got Pittsburgh coming off the West Coast against Anaheim, LA, and San Jose. They played those 3 teams in a row. And now they're coming back to the East and playing a road game before they get home. Whereas the Islanders now, they've lost a couple in a row against Vancouver, Montreal, and Ottawa. And look, they could have beat Vancouver, 1-goal loss, overtime loss to Montreal, shootout loss to Ottawa. It's not like the Islanders were terrible in these games. They just couldn't find a way to win in this one. But, I look at this game here as a situation where Pittsburgh coming off the West Coast against San Jose, I don't trust them here. It sets up well for the Islanders. I like the Islanders here at a short price. If it was more than this, I may reconsider. But, the Pittsburgh road record still isn't great. The Islanders have won 2 straight times hosting the Pittsburgh Penguins 5-4 and 5-1 earlier this season when these teams played. And again, for Pittsburgh, they haven't exactly been great at putting wins together lately. In their last 4 tries after a win, they're just 1-3. So, putting wins together is been a struggle for them. Still dealing with a couple of injuries. Tristan Jarry's not ready to come back yet, so it looks like it's going to be Casey DeSmith once again in net, although it hasn't been confirmed yet for Pittsburgh. We expect Ilya Sorokin for the Islanders, but again, we haven't convinced them yet. So I just think at this price, minus 115, rested home team coming back from the West Coast, team that's been inconsistent like Pittsburgh, and DeSmith's been inconsistent. He's had a bad game, and he can come back and be excellent like he was against San Jose the other night, but he's been very much good start one game, bad start the next out of him, and he's been worked a lot too, so that does concern me. So I like the Islanders here, minus 115. I like the over a little bit too, not as much as the side, but now that it's dropped to 5.5 at DraftKings and a couple other books, I do like the over a little bit, 5.5 minus 120. Alex, Penguins, Islanders.
Yeah, I lean with the over in this one. I kind of lean with the draw too. I know these 2 teams they played back in the day a lot of games that were close and going into overtime against one another, but it hasn't been the case in recent history. But like I said, this is kind of a bit of a tricky spot. I could see where it'd be high scoring more than usual, so I would lean with that over if you can grab a 5.5. Otherwise, wait in game for that 6 to drop down. But this probably won't make my card fully. Like I said, I can't take the draw here because just the history of these 2 teams and like I said, the spot, I could see this one maybe being close, but kind of getting away a little bit late. So.
Yeah, definitely. It's one of those games. It's a little bit tricky. There's no question. Brock Nelson's on a 11-game point streak right now for the New York Islanders, by the way. He's just been absolutely sensational. 11 games with a point. You could look in that direction. Dobson, he's got a point in 3 straight games. Brock Nelson's gone over his shots on goal in 3 straight games. So there's a few props to consider here in this game. Crosby with at least 1 point in 9 of the last 10 games for the Penguins as well. So there's a couple props that would show you that players that are playing well right now. I don't mind Horvat look tonight. He's been a little bit quiet here the last couple of games. I could see him coming back to life tonight. Like if you're going to bet Islanders to produce offensively, you focus in right now on Brock Nelson, Bo Horvat, and maybe to a lesser extent Lee. Because those have been the guys that have been getting the job done lately. And for the Islanders, what do you think here, Jimmy? Pittsburgh, New York Islanders.
Yeah, this is an interesting one to me, man. These are 2 other teams. I know we were talking about Calgary to start the show off that I just can't figure out. I mean, they baffle me so much. So frustrating, these 2 teams. So I'm going to stay away from the side and the total in this, but I am going to look at some props here, and I'm going to give you one on the Islanders side, guys. Give me Josh Bailey to score a goal. Couldn't really get it done up on that top line with Barzal and Horvat. He got demoted. I think he responds. I think he comes out with a big game to try and shove it in his coach's face. So give me Bailey.
You mute it.
Yeah, that's not a bad look there, Jimmy, in terms of looking toward Bailey. You always get a motivated player when they've had the coach basically criticize their play and sit them down. So we'll see what Bailey does tonight. And Parise, the look from Jarek Rubel, 1,200th game, and he's got good numbers against the Penguins. And he's up on the second line. They have moved him up the lineup. So it's not a bad bargain bin look with the old man, as I like to call him.
Yeah,
that's what he
guys,
is now.
just quickly there too. Like, I don't know about you, and it was because the Bruins played Dallas the other night. So Ryan Suter's on Dallas, Breezy, and I don't know about you, but I kind of just forgot those two guys were in the league. I feel horrible. I don't know what it is. I feel like once they left Minnesota, to me, they just left the NHL, and they've still been going at it. And I don't know why it just slipped my mind. Like, oh my God, Ryan Suter's on the Dallas Stars. So just a funny anecdote there.
One thing to consider, too, is we assume Bailey's going to be on the third line tonight, but it's worth noting Lane Lambert put Parise up there with on the top line for a bit against Ottawa.
Oh, he's flip-flopping the whole game.
Yep.
I've been watching. Because he's desperate right now, guys. I think he fears for his job, so he's going to try a lot of things in-game. Yeah,
he put Parise with Barzal and Horvat for a part of that game on Tuesday night. So if he gets some top-line minutes, that means that Parise prop there, plus 325 for him to score a goal. It's going to be more live if he's going to get top-line minutes. That's for sure. So something to keep an eye on here tonight. All right, next up, we've got the Dallas Stars and the Minnesota Wild as things continue to just flounder in Alex's neck of the woods with the Minnesota Wild right now. Even money, -110 both sides, 5.5 the total in this game. I mean, I'm sticking with it. It's been fade Minnesota for me since the All-Star break, and I've been cashing in each time. We took Florida against them. We took Arizona the first game after the break against them. We took Vegas against them. I took New Jersey. That's the one game they won, the Minnesota Wild. And we were against them with Colorado. I took Colorado the other night against Minnesota. I said, who cares about the back-to-back? You're getting +120 with this Colorado team, a team I trust a hell of a lot more, even on a back-to-back, than this struggling Minnesota team laying -140. And sure enough, Colorado gets the 3-2 win against Minnesota, even on a back-to-back after the tough loss against Tampa Bay at home the night before. I like Dallas here, -110. We have Ottinger confirmed in net for Dallas, Jake Ottinger, and Philip Gustafson in net for Minnesota. I hate to say this, but I don't think Dean Evison has a choice. He's got to start Gustafson. I mean, Fleury's just having a tough time right now. He's even getting the friggin' Bronx cheer the other night in that game, and that's unbelievable. You know how much he's struggling because people love Fleury as a person, and the fact that he's having so many issues in net this year that they're giving him the Bronx cheer there when he makes a save at XL Energy Center the other night. That's rough. And that tells you how things are going right now. So I like Dallas here. This could be, and for me, this is also a little sprinkle on the draw, actually, but in this game, just at +310, +320. I could see this being a tight game, probably a low-scoring game because Minnesota can't score right now. 2 goals or less in every game since the All-Star break. And I don't consider 3 goals against New Jersey because that was a shootout. They really only scored 2 goals in that game. So they haven't scored more than 2 goals since the All-Star break. So I like Dallas -110, a smaller bet on the draw. And I like Joel Eriksson Ek over shots, over 2.5. You got to lay a price with that, but it's been automatic. 5 straight games for Eriksson Ek. He's gone over his shots on goal prop, and he's averaged over 4 shots on goal during that span. He's the one constant offensively lately for the Minnesota Wild. He's actually been a good point producer as well for Minnesota. Like, it's basically their offense right now, Alex. It's down to Kaprizov, Eriksson Ek, and maybe a little dose of Zuccarello too. Yep. And other than that, they're getting nothing. And I mean absolutely nothing from anybody else in this lineup offensively. It's all Kaprizov. It's all Eriksson Ek with a little dash of Zuccarello on the side. That's about it. So I like the shots on goal over for Eriksson Ek tonight. He's actually reasonably priced to get a point, -160. I mean, it's juicy, but I think it could be higher on that just to get a point. So if anything's going to happen for Minnesota, Eriksson Ek's been at the forefront of it for them lately. What do you think here, Alex? Dallas, Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on Dallas and a sprinkle on the draw, maybe like a half unit, smaller unit play on the draw because Minnesota's been playing tight. Dallas has played tight as well. And, of course, like I said, another divisional game. This is just situationally a good spot to play something small on the draw. But it's fade Minnesota right now. That was a demoralizing loss in regulation against Colorado. At home, you had ample chances to get back in that contest, ample chances to take over that contest, and they just could not do it. And they're struggling right now, and they're in their own heads, they're in their way. And like I said, the fans are giving it to them. The fans are not on Fleury's side right now, but they also kind of know that there's nothing they can do about this tandem. There's no way they can, try and shake and make a deal and upgrade their goaltending. They got to ride with what they have, and more than likely that means giving Gustafson the bulk of the starts down the stretch because Fleury, for the great Hall of Fame career that he's had, He's starting to show some signs of his age, starting to show some signs that he's played a lot of big hockey over, 17, 18 years, and it's starting to wear down on him. It's just natural. So this is a bad spot for the Wild right now, and even playing at home, they just, like I said, can't figure things out. Dallas has been playing rough as well. This is one of those spots where I think we're going to see a big night from Ottinger. I would maybe look at his over saves prop. It's something I very rarely play. But, I'm seeing laying $1.20 to get over 28.5 saves. I think Ottinger comes out, has a big game, and I think that's what rallies Dallas to getting this win. Could be a close one, might go past 60 minutes, but Dallas should get the victory in the 2 points.
All right, there we go. Like in Dallas here, a sprinkle on the draw. Hey, this worked out perfectly. If you'll remember earlier this week, I took Boston and the draw, a little bit of both against Dallas earlier this week. And sure enough, Boston won in overtime against the Dallas Stars. So this is a good philosophy here. I think you can go 2-0. It wouldn't shock me at all if Dallas wins this in overtime or a shootout. They could win this in regulation, but it could go beyond regulation. I think you do have a shot to go 2-0 with Dallas and the draw as well in this game. But we'll see how it plays out. A couple more shots props too for the Stars. Hintz, I think, because he's been one of their bright lights offensively. Marchment's trending over his shots prop. Miro Heiskanen from the Blue Lines trending over his shots prop lately as well. So those are a couple of looks there. And Dallas shots on goal props tonight in this game. Marchment, Hintz, Heiskanen. For the Stars right now. Jimmy, Dallas, Minnesota.
Yeah, sorry, guys. There, I froze for a bit. Look, I just want to go back to that game, too, that you referenced there, the Bruins-Stars game. I thought, honestly, I'd say that. The Calgary Rangers game a couple weeks back there, and maybe that Bruins-Toronto game that I saw on a Saturday night in Boston. Those are the 3 best games I've seen in the season. Like that game the other night was great. I was glued to it, not just as a reporter, as a fan. It felt like a playoff game. Crowd was into it, and it was something else. And I give the Bruins a lot of credit on that note to do what they did in Nashville. I know they're a much better team than Nashville, but to come back and just smack Nashville like they did and not have any type of letdown, because I really thought they were primed for a letdown after an emotional win in Dallas there. Plus, they had all their siblings on the trip. I figured they were going to be having a good time in Nashville the night before. Maybe they did, and they just can recover from a hangover better than me. But, if they came out fired up.
A little hydrolyte can't help.
I said on Twitter to you guys, I said I thought they would lose the first period but win the game. And if you watch, I mean, they won every period, obviously. But, Montgomery mentioned this after the game, guys. He said he didn't like their performance after the halfway point of the second. So they actually went the other way. I guess it set in as they went on in the game, they got tired and felt the ramifications of a good time. But Swayman was up to the task. But yeah, I just want to mention that game. Dallas, I think that would be a good Stanley Cup matchup. I'm looking forward to seeing Dallas in the playoffs as well. Up to this game, guys. On that note, though, I don't like some of the form I saw by Dallas in that. I don't like their response. When the Bruins would start to turn it on. I'm looking at this right now as a nice upset special. It's a huge game for Minnesota. It's not as big for Dallas right now.
All right.
Dallas coming out of an emotional game, like I said. I'm going to go wild here. Give me the underdogs.
Yeah, it's basically a pick 'em, so it's right around even money. But Dallas is moving toward being the favorite because there are some books that.
I guess I'm looking at it in terms of the standings, but yeah, it is kind of a pick 'em right now.
Yeah, but no, Minnesota. Look, if you believe in the value perspective, like value in the money line price, you definitely have some with Minnesota here. There's no question.
Yeah.
Minnesota's
you can even jump on a reverse puck line right now and get some great value, I'm guessing. But I don't know if they can beat them by
But I'm
two,
reading the tea leaves. I don't like what I'm seeing. I don't like the body language. I don't like I don't like that when they give up a goal, they sulk. They sink a little bit. Like when Colorado scored that, they had a great start, but they couldn't score. And then Colorado got the first goal. It's like, here we go again. And it just everybody sunk collectively emotionally. I don't like seeing that.
I was in a bar about maybe 3 blocks down the street from XL Center watching that game, and that first goal, like I said, that's literally how just the whole bar, you could just feel the air in the room change, and that's exactly, you could see the look on the players' faces, you can see the fans in the crowd. Like I said, it's just the kind of same old shit, that's the way they're looking at it, same old Wild, have this great run at the beginning or look good at times, and then all of a sudden fall flat when they need to step up in big games, and I get what you're saying, Jimmy, but you can't underestimate that this is a lesser game for Dallas. This is a team they're at the top of the division, but they've lost 5 of the last 7. They have been able to scrape out points from OT.
Yep.
I think this is a bigger game for Dallas. Obviously, this has been a big spot for Minnesota, 3 games now? They need to turn things around against Colorado. They need to turn things around, even with the win against New Jersey, but they struggled to do that. They've been in this we need to win mode for about 5 days now. Dallas is just now really kind of getting into that mindset, if they even are panicking and in that mindset. So
did you guys hear though about I was listening to Michael Russo on air earlier today, and he was saying that apparently Billy Guerin went into the dressing room and just ripped them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
After so I mean, you're right. They have been in that, but maybe this is their last straw. I mean, this could be do or die for a lot of guys in that team. Trade deadline's coming up. Oh, yeah. This could be the game. I think this is the game where Guerin's looking at it saying, am I a seller? Am I a buyer? What am I right now? And I think one guy to look at too, who apparently he brought aside one-on-one and really ripped, is Jordan Greenway. I mean, if this kid's ever going to step up and reach his potential, now's the time, because I don't think his time is long in Minnesota. The problem is his value is so goddamn low right now. I don't know how they'll move him.
Yeah, that's the thing. And that's probably why Bill Guerin, you're ruining your trade value. Get your ass in gear.
Yeah, exactly. So I can ship you out of here.
You can't get you out of here if you're playing like shit. Oh, man.
They need Billy Guerin to suit up, man.
That does change things a little bit. What you're saying actually happened. The GM going in there and, saying tirade to the team. Does it wake him up, or does it send him even further into the tailspin?
I've seen Billy Guerin in a tirade in person. Before, when he was with the Bruins way back.
A fiery competitor, always was.
Yeah, you don't want to be on the receiving end of that. Let me tell you.
I believe it. Yeah. And it raises questions now, because for as great of a job as Everson did, obviously in the interim spot and taking over, and the great regular season they had last year, you wonder if this just spirals out of control. The Wild missed the playoffs. And of course, now we know the cap troubles they're going to have moving forward the next couple of years. Does Everson stick around? Do they make a change?
It's a good question. Yeah.
Something to think about.
You know what? No, I think I was thinking the same thing, Alex. Great minds think alike. I think he's definitely in some danger there. I know, though, I feel like he's got a year, maybe even 2 left on his contract. That's the problem there. You don't know how much, is the ownership going to want to eat that money?
Yeah, right. They're already somewhere else. Yeah, they're already testy about the cap
space. And here's another thing too, guys, and this affects that. It's going to affect a lot of other things, and you guys should keep an eye on it too. I'm not sure if you know about what's been going on with Bailey Sports in the States.
Oh, Bailey Sports.
I'm not sure if you guys touch on that. But keep an eye on that, man, because that's gonna have a ripple effect even into the sports gambling business as well, guys. Yeah. And I'm telling you right now, we keep hearing about the NHL salary cap going up. First of all, Gary Bettman must have sensed this, right? Because remember a couple months ago, he walked back his comments from the beginning of the season. There was going to be a huge boost in the salary cap. Well, I'm guessing that's why. He saw this coming, and he knew it was coming. And I'm telling you right now, I don't have any source. This is just my opinion. Don't be surprised if it flatlines one more year, the cap. And it's not going to get any better anytime soon. So there's some tough times coming in terms of that. And it's not good.
No, it's not good. And, it's going to mean that most of the American teams, because most of them are on Bally. There's a few that are on Comcast, NBC Sports, like Chicago Blackhawks on NBC Sports Chicago.
Yeah, well, so Bally Sports covers everything Minnesota here. So Wild, Timberwolves, Twins. Yeah. And
they'd have to look for a new home to put their games on, essentially streaming something. Yeah,
right. And hockey, guys, that's revenue to the players that they're losing.
Exactly. Right. And so, and it's a problem for sure. And people have been worried about it here. Like I said, it's been on the news and everything. And like I said, it affects multiple sports, but affects, I think 20 teams have games on Bally in the NHL. And so that's a real problem. But here it's certainly the case
too. Most are on Bally and for baseball too.
Yep. And here, I was going to say, here's a big issue specifically here in Minnesota, is because there are a lot of people in the metro area who do not have cable and use that for their streaming platform to watch the games. That had already been an issue. So now that they got that corrected, and now the whole thing might just go belly up, is just really bad.
Well, it's funny you say that. Good segue, because I wonder too, because you just see the trend going right now. is everything going to go to streaming soon when it comes to watching sports? I don't know. I'm just something to keep an eye on, guys. And
it might as well at this point.
Yeah. And then, you wonder what the subscription prices are going to be like and how many people, it's just the way the economy is, how many people are going to get phased out of watching sports.
Well, and the crazy thing too is that, and it's funny, I just had this conversation yesterday, not to get too far.
Sorry to go into a rabbit hole, guys.
No. But the thing is that I was talking to somebody. I have a friend, and my friend who lives out in Denver. She doesn't have cable. She streams everything. And we're talking about how I'm saying about the reason why Netflix and Hulu and all these streaming platforms are even able to outbid cable networks and the national, power networks is because of the fact that ABCs and CBSs and NBCs have so much money tied up in sports that every year they have to really flip a coin and be like, do we want to add more regular, primetime programming, or are we bidding for the Big Ten or SEC package in college football? Yeah. And so with that happening, there's going to be a shift. The reason that TV's been split apart as we know it, the networks are blaming sports anyway. So it would make sense for at some point the leagues to pretty much say, hey, fuck it, let's just all get together and we just basically create ESPN all over again.
Yeah.
That's what's heading toward.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yep. And remember, if Bally Sports regional networks go down for the count, then all these NBA, NHL, MLB teams are going to be scrambling to find a place to put their teams' games on that aren't nationally televised. They have to scramble.
Just as sports gambling is becoming legal in so many places, we got to deal with this now.
Yeah. So they've got to they're going to have to either hope some local affiliate maybe puts them on an NBC locally or a CBS local, but that's probably not going to happen because they don't want to bump their primetime television shows.
And one good thing about it, I know, like I said, I can't speak for every city that's having issues, but here in Minnesota, I know before I moved here, like right before I moved here, a lot of games were still on a non-cable channel, like channel 45 is like one of the big local channels. Basically, the channel shows like all the high school. If you ever seen a high school hockey highlight from Minnesota, it comes from that network. And they would probably end up having to pick up the slack of if the network just completely closed down before the season ended. But then, of course, you have to deal with the Timberwolves. You have to deal with the Twins when they start. Every city's got to deal with other concerns because it's not like there's just one team on one network unless you're in New York or the north side of Chicago. So there's other teams that have to be affected by this, and it's going to shift stuff around. But I tweeted the other day when they talked about the NHL ratings being so bad. And I'm like, well, why don't you just make it mandatory to have 5 games in the season randomly on non-cable channels in your local area? That would help promote the game a lot better than doing a mashup, in 2 weeks on fucking Nickelodeon.
Because they're too short-sighted and they're worried about making the quick buck. That's why.
Yeah. It's just
they always have been.
Yeah. Good point by Rich H. Bally Sports. They have 30 days to make payments. They aren't making any because they have no money.
No, they skipped out on the debt payment 5 days ago. Like they said, fuck it.
And some team, I forget who it was. It might have been Dallas. They said their check was short already from the Bally Sports down there.
So there's a good chance 12 teams won't get this year's revenue from Bally's. No, it's not a good chance. They aren't getting this year's revenue from Bally's because they're filled with red ink and losses. This is a fiasco. Seriously, it absolutely is.
And you're going to end up having a situation.
There is no revenue.
And you'll mess around and have issues in these other cities. The same thing you have now in Colorado, where literally there's bills being they're being passed into the House and Senate in the state of Colorado to try to get Comcast to show altitude and have Avs fans and Rockies fans and Nuggets fans. They haven't been able to watch local games. People that we had somebody on the Betcast from Colorado Springs, so they haven't been able to watch Avs or Nuggets game on their regular cable for 3 years. That's absurd. In Colorado Springs, that's the local market.
Yeah. That's a disgrace. I mean, I don't care what you have to do. You can't nobody should be in that situation. Nobody. And I don't know what the situation is because you would think in that market, you've got access to Altitude Sports Network, or damn well should when you're living in that area. How you don't or are unable to get access to that network, I'll have no idea how that's allowed to happen but yeah, that tells you how screwed up things are. And the baseball blackouts, we could go on and on about that. and how terrible they've been over the years. So yeah, the TV situation in terms of regional television for sports is fucked up. Let's be honest, and it has been for years.
And it doesn't need to be. These are there's real simple, easy fixes that are easy enough for anybody to see, and they just aren't doing it.
No. So that's there. What a show. We've had a Calgary diatribe.
Yeah.
We've had a television diatribe. I love that.
Sorry
We still
about
got
that,
2
guys.
games to go. That's all right. It's our, so we love these doing this. And it's a shorter card. Like
It's
if
a
it was
Friday,
a 12-game
too.
card,
Yeah.
if it was a 12-game card, we'd be in some trouble right now.
Right.
With how long the show might be. But it's only 5 games. We've got 2 games left. 238 live viewers on YouTube. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. And shout out to our podcast listeners as well. We'll be back for the remaining 2 games for the Friday slate right after we hear from Gramco.
All right. Whether you or your team's game is on the field, screen, racetrack, or the ice, Gramco is for the game. Grown by farmers who spent years developing premium hemp genetics, Gramco provides customers with consistent quality Delta 8 products ready for any occasion. Gramco currently offers numerous Delta 8 products such as vape cartridges, disposable vapes, pre-rolls, gummies, wake and bake coffee, and more. Gramco offers an enjoyable legal high delivered discreetly and directly to you, and is also available at many American retailers as well. Get the best Delta 8 cannabis products on the market shipped quickly and discreetly from Gramco. If you visit www.thegramco.com, use promo code ICEGUYS, you get 25% off of any order, and all orders on the site that are $50 and higher are shipped free with standard shipping. So live elevated with Gramco and check out their wonderful Delta 8 products today.
All right, we're back here on the Ice Guys. 2 games left. We go to the New York Rangers and Edmonton Oilers, probably the game of the night in the NHL. Edmonton minus 130, home favorites. How about this total? I was wondering if we'd see a 7 with the way Edmonton's been in a lot of track meets, higher scoring games. The Rangers have been an over machine since the All-Star break, and sure enough, we do indeed have a total of 7 here with the Rangers and the Oilers. It should be an interesting, and we've talked about how this Rangers team is just playing great hockey, 6 straight wins. They're lighting it up offensively, 4, 5, 4, 6, 6, and 6. 3 straight games with a half dozen goals for the New York Rangers coming into tonight. Will it continue? That remains to be seen. But I'm not stepping in front of the Rangers, period. Not doing it. But I do feel that this could be a step-up spot for Edmonton. They have lost 2 in a row. Montreal at the end of the road trip, the 5-4 shootout loss to the all of a sudden surging Detroit Red Wings, back and forth. It was a great hockey game, by the way. Like I said on Twitter, it was a game made for Jack Michaels, the television voice of the Edmonton Oilers, because that's just a perfect game for him. He gets into it big time. Fun to watch. Like I said, I hated the guy at the beginning, and now all of a sudden he's growing on me, and he's actually hilarious to listen to and into it, and I like that. He's excitable. But yeah, that was a great game. This is probably going to be another great game. See, I did bet over early. I got in on the 6.5s when they were out there. It was minus 135. At 7, I'd say pump the brakes and wait for a live opportunity. That's what I would definitely do now with this total. Pretty much 7 now, plastered at 7 across the board in this game. I'm passing on the side. I think it's tricky. I'd kind of want to take the Rangers here, plus 110. They're playing so great. They're on a roll. They're an underdog here in this game. Edmonton's lost 2 in a row, but I do feel Edmonton kind of rises up sometimes against the better teams. Look at what we've seen from them lately. I remember that game against Seattle at home and the Tampa Bay game at home where they beat the Lightning 5-3. So we know they've got it in them. And I think after 2 losses, you get a great effort from the Oilers tonight. So I lean Rangers, but I'm probably going to stay off that. I do like the over, but I got it at 6.5. I'd say now at 7, you wait for a live opportunity. And as far as the props here in this game, there's a bunch of good ones. I like, look, get on this now because he's not going to get this price to get a point if he keeps producing for the Rangers. But Vladimir Tarasenko is only minus 108 to score a point tonight in this game. I think that's worth a look in a game that's definitely, I think, going to have some goals in it. Philip Hedl to get a point, Philip Hedl to score a goal. Panarin's been lighting it up. You can go shots on goal with him or points prop of some kind on the Rangers side. Definitely some good props there. On the Edmonton side, you look at their lineup. Don't sleep on some of the guys that are getting more of an opportunity right now for the Edmonton Oilers up the lineup playing with McDavid. Derek Ryan, for instance, he scored the other night a nice deflection goal. Nugent Hopkins and Hyman and McDavid look like they're going to be the top line tonight. Kane, Draisaitl, Janmark on the second line. Evander Kane is suddenly a shooting machine lately for the Edmonton Oilers as well. You look at his numbers in terms of over shots on goal. His shots on goal prop is 3.5, but boy, he's been going over that quite a bit of late. And his scoring streak has been very strong. He's gone 5 points in the last 5 games for the Edmonton Oilers as well. So Evander Kane props, especially the shots on goal, I think worth a look tonight as well. Alex, what do you think here? Should be an entertaining matchup here, Rangers-Oilers.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing to note, Igor Shesterkin is confirmed in net, so keep that in mind because we were talking about obviously the game tomorrow with Rangers Flames. More than likely could be a Halak sighting in that contest. But I like both teams to score here for the first period at plus 135. I'm seeing plus 135 at BetMGM. That's the one look I have here. Like I said, it's interesting to see a total go up to 7, but we're only seeing the first period overs at 2s, right around even money, or maybe even laying a price. So this is definitely one of those spots where I just play it a little safer, go with both teams to score in the first period, and maybe look for some live opportunities after that.
Yeah, this is a good game for a first period, both teams to score, I believe. So plus 130, Alex is liking that. Shesterkin, I think it's going to be after the rough night for Campbell. They go back to Skinner. Hasn't been confirmed yet, but I just get a sense it's going to be Stuart Skinner tonight for the Edmonton Oilers, but that has not been confirmed yet. I've been impressed with how everything has just come together for this team so quickly offensively since they got Tarasenko. Tarasenko looks comfortable, no doubt about it, playing alongside Mika Zibanejad and Chris Kreider. VC Trocheck and Panarin look strong as a line. Trocheck is suddenly playing well. Trocheck didn't have a great season before Tarasenko got here. And now all of a sudden, Trocheck is starting to play better in that second line center spot. And it goes without saying how good the kid line has been lately for the Rangers. Hedl, Kakko, and Lafreniere on that third line. Chris Drury deserves a hell of a lot of credit. He's done a nice job. That was a nice get for Tarasenko, and he's fit perfectly so far. Chris Drury, props to him. What do you think about getting Tarasenko, Jimmy, and the job Chris Drury's done? I think it continues to do a nice job here.
Look, I think he's done a great job, and not just now. His whole body of work has been great. I do think, and I'll defend him till the cows come home, that Jeff Gorton got screwed. I think a lot of what you're seeing now is they're reaping the benefits of Jeff Gorton's work as well. But he did that with Chris Drury, so Drury deserves credit for it too. They're headed in the right direction. It's rare that you see a player come in and fit in that fast. Takes a while usually. People think it's just going to happen seamlessly. It doesn't happen like that. So when it happens, it stands out, and it surely has in New York. And I look at this team right now. Look, the East is loaded, guys. Just another big Stanley Cup contender from the East there. A lot of teams that you could see going to the final right now in the East. And as for this game, I'm going to go with a draw. I like these teams to battle out of regulation and into overtime, maybe even a shootout. It's going to be a great game, I think, probably the game of the night. And, guys, I have to actually jet because I got to run and get my laundry down the street. So I'm going to give you my pick for the final game will be an under 6.5 in Kings Ducks.
No problem, Jimmy. We'll let you go. And what did you have in LA, Anaheim?
Under 6.5.
Under 6.5. Okay, best bet.
Yep. Best bet will be the draw in the Oilers Rangers.
There you go, the draw on the Oilers Rangers. All right, Jimmy, we'll let you run. We'll see you next Friday. Looking forward to it.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
There he is, Jimmy Murphy, all right, with us, as always, every Friday here on the Ice Guys Show. And we'll wrap up with LA and Anaheim. This is an ESPN game, actually, tonight. And note the start time, 9 p.m. Eastern time for this ESPN matchup. Good job by ESPN. They normally have Friday night NBA, but the NBA is on All-Star break this weekend. So let's put an NHL game on Friday night. So good job. It was the obvious decision, but I'm glad they made it anyway. And they got, which was a little better game, but Kings and Ducks, it is what it is. Kings -2. It's fun to watch the Kings. Ducks, maybe not so much. Kings -270, road favorites, 6.5, the total in this game. Let me see who's working the game. I'll find that out in a second. Mike Monaco. Mike Monaco's on play-by-play, young guy on play-by-play for this one for the Kings and the Ducks. Anaheim, look, I don't know. Look, they've always been a bad defensive team all year. We know that. And we know the goaltending with Gibson and Stolars, that combination with a little Lucas Dostal thrown in on occasion has been rough as well. But it's mostly been porous defending in front of their goaltending all season. And boy, has that shown up the last few games. My goodness. What did we see here? 6 allowed to the Pittsburgh Penguins, 7 to the Sabres, 7 to the Vegas Golden Knights in that outburst on Super Bowl Sunday that Vegas had in the third period. What wretched, embarrassingly bad defense we have seen from the Anaheim Ducks here in recent games. They've had horrendous starts to these games. They continue to get behind early. I like the Kings in the first period puck line here. It was -0.5, plus 125 earlier. I still think you can get around that price. Anaheim's been giving up the first goal routinely in these games. Yeah, still plus 125 on that Kings first period puck line. I like it here in this one. I've been cashing with these first period puck lines against Anaheim at home a lot lately. And I'm going to go back to that. Well, it is going to be Phoenix Copley. That was the big worry for me in this game, was would they save Copley for the back-to-back tomorrow night against Arizona? But Copley's in net tonight. And if you're backing the Kings in any form, you much prefer him to Jonathan Quick right now in net. John Gibson confirmed in net for the Ducks here in this game. I'm opposite Jimmy, though, when it comes to the total. He mentioned liking the under. I like the other way, over 6.5 here. I mean, it's hard to bet an under with this Ducks team right now. And don't look now, but LA offensively, they've got it rolling at the moment. LA with 4, 6, and 5 goals scored in their last 3 games. So they've gotten 15 goals in the last 3 games combined. Coming into this matchup tonight, they've been trending over as well, 5-1 to the over their last 6 games. Anaheim's gone over in 3 of the 3 straight games, I should say, coming into tonight. Also, we look at this matchup here. LA's owned Anaheim. They've won 4 straight, including 4 straight here in Anaheim. But I do think we'll see enough goals in this matchup here with the Kings and the Ducks. So for me, LA first period puck line, -0.5, plus 125, and also going to get in on over 6.5, which is right around -110 to -115 right now. Alex, what do you think here? ESPN national TV matchup, Los Angeles Kings, Anaheim Ducks.
Yeah, these are always good matchups, even if one or both of the teams are bad. These two teams always get geared up for one another, so that makes sense that this would be the ESPN choice of the night. But yeah, I'm right there with you. I like the Kings first period puck line. I was able to get laying a half and go at plus 120, so that's still available if you shop around. Like I said, definitely want to shop around for that, because I'm seeing it's low as even money, but as high as plus 120, plus 125. So definitely want to get the best of that number. But Anaheim, the team, like I say, you can't trust them at any phase of the game right now. They're just a hard team to back. And with Copley and net, the Kings are always, like I said, solid, especially early in the game. So I could definitely see the Kings jumping out to a 1-0, maybe even a 2-0 lead here. So I'm telling you on that.
All right, there we go. Like in the first period puck line here with the LA Kings in this game. All right, as far as the props go, I mean, really the only props you could go near for Anaheim now are maybe Henrique, maybe Zegras, maybe McTavish, and that's about it, because they're the only guys with a threat to do anything offensively right now for the Anaheim Ducks. Zegras, definitely in particular, but for LA, I mean, you look at what you're seeing from them offensively of late. I mean, they've got multiple play. I mean, Kempe, it goes without saying. Kempe is just on an absolute incredible heater right now. No question for the LA Kings at the moment. What has he had in the last several games? I'm looking at the game logs right now. Look at the last 3 games alone. He's got 7 goals and 8 points in the last 3 games. 7 goals, 8 points the last 3 games. Adrian Kempe. Any props you want, you can put in your pocket in terms of him. Kaliev got a goal and an assist against the Buffalo Sabres. I think he's a little bit undervalued as well. So there's definitely some props on the LA Kings side of the equation here that definitely are worth consideration. So definitely would look in that direction. No question about it with those two. All right. That's the Friday card. We appreciate everybody joining us. Hit the like button. We appreciate it very much. We'll be back tomorrow. We welcome back Kevin Beach, our Saturday guest. He'll be with us tomorrow. He's very good with props in particular. So we're looking forward to having him back on the Saturday show after a couple-week hiatus. He'll be joining us tomorrow to break down the massive Saturday card. It is time for Best Bets in just a second, but first we'll hear from our good friends at Manscaped. Support for the Ice Guys is brought to you by Manscaped, our good friends at Manscaped, who are the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 7 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you, courtesy of the Ice Guys. Get 20% off of any purchase and free worldwide shipping with the promo code Ice Guys. That's promo code Ice Guys, all one word, ICEGUYS at manscaped.com. If my math is correct, that's about 400 million balls that you can help preserve with manscaped.com using the promo code Ice Guys. You get the Performance Package 4.0. It is a game changer. The Lawnmower 4.0. It takes care of this, among other things. It'll keep you trim as can be. The Lawnmower 4.0, waterproof. Same thing with the Weed Whacker, which takes care of your ear hair, nose hair. I mean, nose hair in particular. You know, I'm getting up there in age, and nose hair is becoming definitely more of an issue. This will take care of it. It feels like someone's tickling the inside of your nostrils sometimes. It pisses the hell out of me. It bothers me. I need to take care of that shit. This will take care of it for you. The Weed Whacker makes part of the package that you get with your Manscaped purchase and the Manscaped Performance Package 4.0. You also get the ball toner. You also get the ball deodorant, keep you smelling good and looking good and feeling good down in the nether regions. This package is really going to make you feel good and look good and look better, slim, trim. That's what it's all about. And manscaped.com can help you out with that. So make sure you take advantage of this. Manscaped.com. Get 20% off and free shipping with the promo code Ice Guys at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and use the promo code Ice Guys. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. All right, we're back here on the Ice Guys. Yeah, just to confirm, Grinch, I'm passing on the side. I could only take the Rangers. It's Rangers or pass for me. I am not stepping in front of New York right now. They're playing that well, but I feel the Oilers are going to bring a great performance, great effort tonight, and I could see them winning. So I'm off the game, but lean Rangers from a side.
Yeah, I'm off of that side as well, too. I can see that going either way.
Yeah, definitely. So I just like the over there in that one at 6.5. If it's 7 right, it's 7 right now. If it's wait till in game if you're going to bet the over now is what I say. All right, best bets to wrap it up for this Friday edition of the show. Alex, what do you like for best bet?
We're going to go to the Canadian capital, well, at least outside of the Canadian capital, but Ottawa and Chicago. We're going to go with the draw, plus 400. I like a lot of spots on this card tonight, but I think that's worth sprinkling on. I think that really has a legitimate shot to cash. I could see this one, like I said, being a high-scoring game back and forth. But and we've seen some track meets between these two teams in recent history. So like a 4-4 heading into overtime, that makes total sense to me. Plus 400, that's some decent value on the draw. Let's go with the Hawks and the Sens. Regulation draw plus 400. That's my best bet for Friday night.
There you go. Regulation draw there for a plus 400 with Chicago, Ottawa. Best bet for Alex B. Smith on this Friday card. Best bet for me on this Friday card. Let's do a goal prop. Keep it simple. Alex DeBrincat will score tonight against the Ottawa Senators, against the Chicago Blackhawks, his former team, as a member of the Ottawa Senators. Plus 138. Alex DeBrincat, anytime goal scorer. Alex DeBrincat for Ottawa tonight, plus 138 against his former team, the Chicago Blackhawks. And I think you'll get one hell of an effort and one hell of a performance from him. These revenge game angles are real. They work, especially when it's high-profile players against teams that, didn't love the way it ended. I think you get that here tonight. The Cat, Alex DeBrincat, plus 138 to find the back of the net tonight against his former team, the Chicago Blackhawks. That'll be my best bet here for this Friday NHL card. All right, that'll wrap up this edition of the Ice Guys. Thanks to everyone in the chat for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. We appreciate it very much. Patreon.com/Ice Guys. Yep, $10 a month. We mentioned it early at the beginning of the show. We posted the Q&A there. We've got the broadcaster rankings coming up next week. Next Thursday. So make sure you get on that. Patreon.com/Ice Guys, just $10 a month. All our bonus video and article content is posted there. Daily goalie charts, power ratings, totals charts, daily Ice Guys betting card posted there. All that and more. Patreon.com/Ice Guys for just $10 a month. And a reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Friday. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we will talk to you again tomorrow on Saturday, and we'll break down the mammoth Saturday card. We got a great Rangers-Flames game. We've got the outdoor game with the Washington Capitals and the Carolina Hurricanes, and many other great games on that Saturday slate with me, with Alex, with our Saturday guy, Kevin Beach. Make sure you join us tomorrow for the Saturday edition of the Ice Guys, presented by National Hockey Now.